fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Wind Tunnel Racing TV presents the Wind Tunnel Racing League live from Iowa Speedway for round number 5 of the 12 race season. I'm Jared Carr, joined in the booth tonight by Chris Spear. Chris, this is a tough 3 or 8/10 of a mile track out in Iowa. What are these drivers in store for here tonight?
Oh man, Jared, this 7/8 mile racetrack here is incredibly difficult. It's so short here, but it feels like it should be so much bigger because you have longer straightaways, tight corners here. This racetrack is going to be proving difficult for a lot of different drivers. Cars here like to get loose going into the corner and especially out of the corner. Everyone trying to get on that loud paddle just a little bit too early. That's going to bite some drivers here tonight, Jared.
Coming into tonight's race, we got qualifying going on right now, so as you see there on the left-hand side of the screen, Dale Nearat on the pole. But coming into tonight, I mean, last week at Homestead, we had what a finish there. Bernard Persson led, dominated that race, but ended up coming home second. Dean Doucet and Chuck Sweeting were catching him at the end, and Chuck Sweeting was the guy that came home with the victory. Very much spread out and then came back together. Chris, are we going to see a similar type of race here tonight?
It's hard to tell. Watching earlier tonight, Jared, these drivers all seem to be bunched up throughout the entire racetrack here, but even if you get separated here by about 4 or 5 tenths between you and the car in front and behind you, that almost will take up 3/4 of the racetrack here in a long time. It's going to be hard to get around this track and the traffic that you're going to with here tonight. All these drivers, they're great drivers, Jared, but that doesn't mean anything as long as you're not able to keep pace with the guys in front of you. That's going to make things all that more difficult, and now we're looking to see if hopefully maybe one of these drivers can get up here, get a second win on the year. We've got our first second time repeat winner last week, Chuck Sweeting at Homestead, but now we've got Bernard Persson also looking for his second win, Darren Bruce as well as his second win. So these drivers, they want to get up there and get that second win. Now that Chuck's done it, they want to see if they can do it too. But other drivers like Dean Doucet, second in points, doesn't have a win yet. Same with Jason Maines in third. These drivers, they want to get up here and go ahead and get that victory here and just get it off their chest.
And you see the championship standings there in the background. There is actually, we had a little bit of air there. There we go. Bernard Persson leading by 20 points over Dean Doucet. Don't forget about Jason Maines, who is gone purple in Sector 1. Not going to get it on the pole, but oh yes, he is. He is going to get it on the pole. So good lap from Jason Maines, and then Chuck Sweeting, Darren Bruce, Jason Spear, Vrooman, Flanagan, Elliott Swope, Gilgock. Your top 10 in points. And like Chris said earlier, we've had 3 winners in 4 races. Chuck Sweeting, Bernard Persson, and Darren Bruce are the 3 winners. Dean Doucet, Jason Maines have not won yet, so this could be a night for those guys to get that done. Let's take a look at our race information tonight. It is as Chris said, 7/8 of a mile or thereabouts. We got a 72-degree track, 70-degree air temperature with a little bit of a wind coming out of the southeast, which is going to give them havoc, maybe a little havoc off of turn number 4, but it is kind of light, so I don't think it will play too much of a factor. But Chris, you talked about a lot. This track is very difficult. The one thing I didn't hear you say, it's bumpy.
Absolutely, Jared. It's bumpy all over this track, especially coming out or going into 3. There's a big dip there. Makes these cars want to brake sideways there. In these Xfinity cars, they don't have the side force that some of the other cars on the service does. Makes it all that much more difficult. But the track itself, Jared, it's completely different in every corner. The front straightaway is even still pretty much an oval here. You're pretty much turning all the way down the front straightaway as well in comparison to the backstretch. The backstretch, though, has a leading straightaway into a sweeping left or sweeping corner there in turn 3, and it's so much different than what you experience going into 1, and just the exit of these turns, they're so much different from one another, Jared.
You're exactly right, Chris, and they are getting lined up on the starting lineup. So let's take a look at our starting grid here for tonight's event at Iowa Speedway. Jason Maines, the Elliott Sadler Esports driver, on pole with a lap of 23.332. Alongside him, Dale Nearad from Spear Motorsports there alongside, just 0.06 of a second slower. Row number 2, our point leader, Bernard Persson, and Tim Bills, a short track driver from Kentucky in row number 2. Row 3, Russell Chernisky, glad to see him back out again. And Robert Warrens will be making his Wind Tunnel Racing debut tonight from 6th. Row number 4 will be Elliott Swope with a great qualifying effort alongside Joe Flanagan. And rounding out your top 10, Chris, is going to be Steven Vrooman and Dean Doucet from Stingray Racing.
Right behind them, you're going to have Dave King and John DeRugis. I believe this is DeRugis' first race with this series, starting here tonight. Behind them in row number 17, James Torrey and TJ Bartell. And row number 8, Paul Schudenberg and David Phillips. Behind them in row number 9, Burt Wilson and Adam Newton. Finishing out your top 20, Rick Souza starts 19th, and 20th will be Glenn Jamison.
Guys rolling off the grid. Let's take a look at that last little bit here. Rachel Hunt, not a good qualifying effort for her. She'll start 21st alongside Gil Gott. Brad Patterson and Darren Bruce in row 12. Chuck Sweeting and Troy Torgerson back there in row 13. And rounding out your 28-car field will be Jason Spear, Shane Loveridge, and then actually we got Lester and Darren Bruce, who did not take the grid for some reason. So he's starting from the pit. So Ian Spear and Lester our last 2 drivers here tonight, Chris.
And interesting here, a lot of our big names in this series are not up in the top 10 here. That's going to make things all that more difficult for them starting so far back.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Chris. And we'll see how this goes as this race transpires here. See these guys back here getting all lined up and ready to go.
Jason Maines looking strong, starting on the pole here, Jared, and it's going to be an amazing race for him if he can get out front and hold off these drivers down near him. They're going to try to do everything he can on that outside groove to not let him get too far away from him.
Leading him down the back straightaway here, Dale Nearad and Jason Maines. First pole for Toyota this year, by the way, so there you go. A little factoid for Wind Tunnel Racing out there. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Jason Maines is going to lead him down with Dale Nearad in second place. Pace car's off. Leader controls the start into the restart zone, holding, and he's going to wait for the green flag. There he goes, and a good start by Jason Maines, and we are underway here at Iowa.
Just because he waited that long little bit, they gave him a great advantage going into the corner. Dale Nearad to fall right in behind him, though, sets his sights back on the back of that number. He can to carry the momentum down the backstretch as they head into 3.
Robert Warren's on the high side. We got everybody moving around the track. The 27 or 30, Dale Nearad, slides it. Dale Nearad loose off the corner, loops it around, and we are going to have a caution. From second place, Dale Nearad just gave it a little bit of too much gas, and we didn't get a lap in.
And Jared, we talked about it earlier in the broadcast, just mentioning how hard it is to get off the corners here. Well, I was thinking it was hard to get off the corners in the middle of a run. I wasn't thinking at the very beginning of a run, very start of the race here. But your car has cold tires, Jared. That makes it all that more difficult when you get onto the gas pedal here, and makes the car want to slide out from underneath you. And unfortunately, Randy was not able to save it in that 27 machine.
Dale Nearad, we're on board with Dale here. Up on the high side, let's listen to it. Yeah, just wheel spin off the corner. Bernard Persson did a good job staying off of him. Self-spin, and he'll lock it down and get going again. And we got a couple takers on pit road, I think. Chuck Sweeting from way back. He started 25th. He's on pit road. So is Shane Loveridge and Tom Lester. This does pay off good for Darren Bruce. I believe he will get the lucky dog. There in the number 4 for Stingray Racing.
And Jared, I think this is a good opportunity if you're farther back in the pack. I know it's only been now about 3 laps on the actual race, but come down, go ahead and top for fuel. Quick adjustment you think you already need it from what you feel in the car, and just take the opportunity, get on a little bit different strategy than everyone else.
That's a really good point, Chris. Get on that different strategy, see what happens as the race goes on. But right now, Jason Maines, he'll lead the first few laps here. But Chris, I mean, you talk about it. This is a very tough series. And you look at it, first off, I want to point out we have one Toyota and one Ford in the top 10. Everybody else is Chevrolets, so very interesting there. But, you know, Chris, this is a tough league. And I think a lot of guys, you know, they want to get up there, and you have some big names, big talent in this series. It's got to add a little bit of pressure to you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you want to get up here and run well with these drivers because you know just how difficult it can be, especially with some of these drivers up in the field. And I think that's a product of just what we saw right then with Dale. You want to get up here and get into the throttle as much as you possibly can. You don't want to lose positions early, and so part of that means that you're going to have to drive the car right on the verge of control every single lap, and that's what happened in that moment.
Exactly right, Chris, and we'll see how this goes. A little bit long caution here, 175 lap race, so it is going to be, you know, a little bit of time here, but 75 lap race, so it is going to. Thank you. Just shouting out everybody out here. We got a few people watching on YouTube and Facebook, so thanks for joining us over on those platforms here tonight on Wind Tunnel TV. We have racing all week. We'll be back tomorrow night for Kicking Asphalt Racing League on their race at Michigan. So a lot of stuff going on, and we can't wait to see you guys out there. Still under caution here after a lap one spin with that involved Dale Nearad coming off the corner. Self-spin, nobody else involved, no contact, no damage for the 27 machine, but Jason Maines is your leader. He started on pole.
And Jared, while we have the opportunity, we shout out Pay to Win Setups. They're the official setup provider for this league, providing setups for the races each week and giving drivers the opportunity to expand on those setups and even offer advice and guidance to the drivers of Wind Tunnel Racing in the Xfinity Series. It makes a huge difference when you have a setup shop that's willing to come in and help give pointers to your group of guys, and it certainly shows a lot about the maturity of this league even in its first season.
Yeah, exactly right. Pay to Win, excellent partners. Dave Lamb over there does a great job with that group, and if you definitely need a setup, check those guys out. They have good setups every week for just about every car on the oval side, even some on the dirt and some on the road course side, I believe now, so give those guys a shout. Lining them back up, Tim Bills on the outside. We have not had any green flag racing. I guess we technically had 9/10 of a lap, basically, of green flag racing. But Jason Maines still the control car. We got Chernisky, Warrens also in there, as well as Flanagan. We'll see what these guys can do as they pull their way around turn number 3. And we'll see how this gets going.
Sweeping corner here. The pace car goes off the track, getting ready to go back green here. And there it is. Jason Maines going to take the green flag, waited there, a little bit different, same result as he pulls away clear heading into 1.
Jason Maines with a great start off the back end, but here comes Tim Bills right up the back bumper. Everybody behind him fighting out 3 wide behind him.
Bernard Person looking under Tim Bills as he has Warrens underneath him. 3 wide coming through the corner at a difficult track, Jared. This is so tight coming out of this corner.
Unbelievable driving. Robert Warrens coming through the field. Not going to take no to the answer as we jump on board Dean Doucet in the 29 machine, running that high side. You can see how bumpy it is. Warrens on the bottom, trying to get a move, but he just gets cut down on that low side. Just can't roll the car out to the top like he wants to. Dean Doucet, 3 wide for the lead.
3 wide, but right now Jason Maines is going to continue the lead. Tim Bills looking underneath him, but he's got Bernard Person basically to his outside. You can throw a blanket over these drivers now. Bill drives down deep, getting underside. Maines, he's looking to be side by side as a drag race down the back straightaway. 2
great short track racers on iRacing going head to head. Former teammates, may still be teammates. I know Tim Bills was part of Elliott Sadler E-Racing last year at some point in time, but Tim Bills goes to the lead. He'll lead lap number 10. Person drops into 3rd with Dean Doucet moving up to 4th. Warrens drops to 5th.
Tim Bills up 3 positions on the start. Maines losing 1. Person remaining where he is, but now he looks to the underside of Maines, trying to get around him for 2nd.
Can't quite get it down on the low side, and Dean Doucet up 6 positions behind him. He's going to look onto the inside of Bernard Persson, and that's the thing about this track, Chris. The bottom is so hard to pass on that the guy gets a run. You try to get a run on the guy in front of you, and then you just can't get the run off the corner, and then somebody else ends up taking advantage of it.
Absolutely. Momentum is critical at this track, Jared, just because of how long these corners last compared to the straightaways. As you see, Bernard Persson pulls to the outside this time of Mainz going into one.
Mainz holding it out there on the inside, doing a good job, but Bernard Persson going to stay there. Watch Dean Doucet. He's sneaking there, and Bernard Persson to second place. Mainz dropping to third. Dean Doucet looks to the high side. Warren's still running that middle, and Charneski, we got a wreck. It's Adam Newton. And he may have spun off of turn number 2. Let's take a look at the replay and see what we can find out. So here we go. He's on the outside of Gil Gach in the 85. Oh, he just gets loose and he gets into the... James Torrey involved. And it looks like everybody did a good job getting through there. I don't know who that was at the end, but there was somebody that almost ran right into him and did a great job. Might have been Tom Lester. We'll take a replay and see if we can see what happened from Tom Lester's view. But tough break for Adam Newton.
Absolutely, and for the other drivers that were involved there, it was definitely a tight little battle that those drivers had going on, and Adam just so happened to get a little bit sideways there. Unfortunate for him, for Gil Gach, and I believe James Torrey all caught up in it.
Everybody did a great job getting through there. I think that might have been Ian Spear. Yes, it was. Ian Spear did a great job getting through that accident. We'll take a look from his onboard camera because he had a whole entire front end full of Adam Newton in this.
That he did. The last little second there decided to go to the opposite way, and
wow,
man, that was just incredible there. But kudos to him to getting it done there and not causing any other issues after that sudden evasive maneuver.
So we did have some pit stop takers. Chuck Sweeting in the 75 back in again for Gator Racing. Jason Spear in. Shane Loveridge, Troy Torgerson for Dan Shamoon Racing, and Brad Patterson from Stingray in. So is Darren Bruce from Stingray. Gator Racing's Gil Gach got damaged, as did James Torrey from Lone Star Racing. So got some guys getting on pit road, Chris. 15 laps in, already 2 cautions. Iowa's a treacherous track, though.
That it is. I mean, because of how different each of the corners are, Jared, sometimes if you lose concentration just for a moment here, it can be disastrous. And really, that's what makes this track so much fun to watch here and to drive as well. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on here with these drivers that are electing to pit. 15 laps, that's not a lot of time on the tires here, but maybe it's an opportunity to get fuel and just get that much closer to changing up the pit strategy here, Jared.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how long these guys go. Typically, these short track races, I mean, you got enough fuel to do a one-stop race. It doesn't really come down to tires, but Iowa is not like most short tracks, Chris. Are tires going to come into a factor here tonight?
Certainly, I think tires come into a factor, at least coming out of Ford, Jared. It's real easy to slide the tires in that corner, and means you have to get off of the throttle. If you get off the throttle there, you're losing momentum all the way down the front stretch here, and really can open up opportunities for guys to get around you, as we are now getting them side by side with 1 to go to the restart.
So it's going to be Tim Bills, Bernard Persson, your first row. Mainz now on the second row with Dean Doucet, Warrens, Charneski, Flanagan, Vrooman, DeRudris up into the top 10, along with TJ Bartel to round it out. Phillips, Swope, Jamison, King, Wilson, Schmalmenberg, your top 15, as we are about ready to get this thing going again here at Iowa Speedway, as we still have a lot of racing left here to go tonight.
That we do, and it's interesting, Jared, these drivers were practicing and it was daylight. As we're going into the race, it's getting later and later and those lights are coming on. That might play out to be a factor here in the handling of these cars as well.
Tim Bills goes quick, pace car's off, and we are back under green flag conditions as Bills looking to the lead, and he will take it easily. Mainz looks underneath Persson for second.
Person using that outside groove, coming through the corner, rolls through there really well. He closes up to the back door of Tim Bills in the 37 machine, looks to the inside, going into 3. He's there, Jared.
Person with a rocket run off the corner, and to Bernard Person, the point leader, looking for the lead. Loose off turn number 4. He will lead this lap. Bills fights back on the outside.
Bills trying to use the momentum on that outside. We've seen it. He used that to get around the 1 machine. So did Bernard Person. Now going to try to keep the lead using that outside lane. He's got the momentum heading into 3.
Person side by side. Now you got Doucet battling with Jason Maines. We jump on board Jason Maines, who sees this battle just in front of him. Bills is going to clear Bernard Person heading into turn 1.
Now Dean Doucet dives to the bottom. He gets around the 1 machine going into 1, setting his eyes on Person. Behind them, you got the 00 and the 02 of Vrooman and Flanagan racing side by side.
Flanagan, and there's Chernisky looking underneath Robert Warrens, the Canadian driver, the 59 making his debut, and Chernisky trying to move up into the top 5. He's going to pick him at the line, but Chernisky drives it down into the corner, and now Jason Maines is there as well.
Jason Maines slipping a little bit early in this race. Maybe not the handling that he was expecting, as he's got those drivers battling behind him 3 wide in the corner.
On board Jason Maines, Chernisky, he is by him in the middle, and everybody does a good job. Vrooman had to back out, and Warrens finally gives way to Chernisky, but looking out the back of that number 1 machine, you see a whole lot of action all across this track.
That you do, Jared. These drivers, they're putting it all on the line there. The 59 of John DeRugis, he's back there in this mix, trying to do what he can. He dives now below the 20.
John DeRugis making his way through the field. A little bit of confusion. We have DeRugis is the 59 officially, but looks like Robert Warrens might. Looks like on my screen it's the 59, unless I'm having a dyslexic moment. But he is registered as the 95. DeRugis a little bit loose off the corner, but he clears Dave Phillips II, and now he's looking under Flanagan for 8th place.
And you are absolutely right. My apologies. Looking at the numbers on the car, I was wrong. The 00 of Vrooman now looking underneath that 59, which is actually Chernisky.
There's Robert Warrens there in that. I think Robert Warrens is the 59. We'll get it right eventually.
Eventually we'll figure it out. These drivers switching back and forth, Jared, getting the momentum in different areas. Now it looks like Vrooman on the outside is easily going to pull the momentum and close in on the back of the 20. A big run from the 53 behind him of Joe Flanagan.
Flanagan dives in deep on Robert Warrens. That's a battle for 6th place. Flanagan, or 7th place. Flanagan moves up to 7th right now. Warrens with the battle on the outside. DeRugis and Phillips are closing up on it, but what a job by Stephen Vrooman, doing a great job in that 00 machine, moving to the front of the field. And here comes Flanagan. He's going to clear Warrens off turn number 4. Warrens just has a bumper there, but Flanagan looks like he's going to get the pass done into 1.
That he does, easily able to pull it around, but now the driver of the 95 looks to try to get the momentum out of the corner, not able to do it. And whoa, way up front, Jason Maines had a miracle of that 20 car.
Chernisky, the New Jersey native, he's been battling some cancer. It's great to see him back on the track, and he has been missed on the track, and I think he's missed the track. He is racing hard out there, going after Maines for 4th.
And all this is happening behind your leader, Tim Bills, who has still a lead just barely over Bernard Person, and that battle is heating up as Person looks to get the momentum on the outside coming out of 3 and 4.
Person is all over the back of Tim Bills. Tim Bills is really good at Iowa in so many different disciplines, but Bernard Person's not a slouch at any track, anywhere. And here he comes. Oh, a little bit loose off the corner, but Bills holds him off for now.
It's interesting to see these drivers are taking a little bit different line through these corners. In 1 and 2, Person is staying a little bit higher on entry and arcing the corner a little bit later than Tim Bills is. You can kind of see it right here. Now Person's going to take it all the way out, almost 2 grooves higher than Bills. Bills electing to stay on the bottom here, and I believe that's why Person's being able to close up on to Tim Bills. But in 3 and 4, different story. Both of the drivers electing to go to that higher line, and it's really costing Bernard Person in that corner because neither one of those drivers is getting momentum on the other.
Top 3 have pulled out a gap. Jason Maines dropped out to 2.5 seconds, and there is a little bit of a gaggle forming up behind him. We've got Stephen Vrooman, Flanagan, Warrens, Phillips, and DeRugis all within about a second of Maines there for 4th place, Chris. And I was a tough place. We've already seen how hard it is to pass here. What do you do in this situation where you may be faster, maybe you feel like you're faster at least? How do you get around guys at a track like Iowa?
Patience. You have to have patience, Jared. Really what you have to do is set up the corner. You need to be able to let the car in front of you end up running their line, but you need to figure out a way to continue the momentum. That's what Person's trying to do in 1 and 2 by going to that higher groove. Problem is that he's losing that momentum back in 3 and 4 using the same lane. Got to try something different. You can't run the same groove as the car in front of you and expect things to happen, especially if you're up here in these top 5 positions, Jared. These drivers, they're not going to make a mistake at this point in the race.
Looking further back through the field, DeRugis in 10th, TJ Bartel in 11th. These guys all kind of moving forward just a little bit from their starting position. Glenn Jamieson back here battling. We have Burt Wilson, Elliott Swope, Rachel Hunt, your top 15 right now. And Torgerson, he's got some heat from Dale Nearad. Nearad looking on the inside. Nearad qualified 2nd, spun it on lap number 1. So Nearad trying to get back to the front of the field. Schmallenberg in 18th. Chuck Sweeting, Chris, he's back there in 19th place. But I have to say, Chuck is a guy that will come to the front as the race goes on. We'll have to keep an eye on that 75 machine.
Absolutely, Jerry. We watched it last week at Homestead. He worked his way methodically up. He wasn't up in the top 1, 2, 3 for most of the race. Got himself there by the end of it just from attrition. But you mentioned, what does it take to get around the driver? What do you do? Well, right now, that 20 car of Chernowski is really trying to figure out a way to get around Jason Maines here. Jason doesn't seem to have the faster car of the two, but the problem is the 20 can't get up there to get around him. And you mentioned it, there are cars after cars after cars behind this one that really seem like they've got faster cars, but they can't go anywhere.
And Jason doing a great job. I mean, there's nothing that Jason's doing wrong here by any means. It's just he's a great driver. He's put the car right in the position where, it's really hard to pass. I mean, he's leaving the door open for a pass to be made, but nobody can get that momentum off the corner to get the run down into the corner. So Charniski's there, and not to mention, Chris, we talked about a little bit, track is very bumpy, and when you have to start running that low side, it just makes the car harder and harder to drive.
That it does. We talked about patience. Right now, the 20 has patience, but the drivers behind them, their patience is starting to wear thin as Flanagan is looking underneath. I believe that's Warren's in that 95 machine.
Yeah, Warren's actually coming back around Flanagan. Flanagan got around him, and now Warren's back on the outside. Flanagan looks like he's got a little bit of a tight condition there. We also got Dave Phillips in the mix here, and Flanagan's going to get passed by Warren's in the 95 technically there. Flanagan drops to 8th place, and then you have Dave Phillips the second coming up as well. Phillips having a great solid run there in 9th position. DeRugis, I mean, look at these cars. DeRugis, he's got Bartel and Jamieson and Burt Wilson all over the back of him, and don't look now, but Dale Nearad, he's coming back to the pack as he's working on Elliott Swope. Just got around Rachel Hunt and Troy Torgerson, but he's doing it the hard way, Chris. On the bottom, he does clear Swope, but that's got to be using up those tires as Hunt gets loose behind him.
Absolutely. While we're following that battle, the 20 machine is able to get around Jason Maines to put Charnowski up into the 4th position. Now Vrooman will be the next car to try to get around Jason Maines in that 1 machine. Jason really doing everything he can to get this car and keep the momentum underneath him, but unfortunately it seems like right now his car is just not handling the way it needs to. He was able to get close back up to the back of Chernowski there, but was unable to do anything after that. Now Vrooman and the 00 machine is looking to close in on him.
Jason Maines gets passed by Chernisky. Tried to come back, as you said, Chris. Now Vrooman. And you look at the lines. Maines is kind of running that low-mid line, and Vrooman's running that mid-high line. Nobody really up against the wall yet. That's where I like to run personally, but these guys are out on the track. I'm not. All kinds of battling going on back here as Dale Nearad finally clears Rachel Hunt. Now he sets his sights on Burt Wilson. Here comes Chuck Sweeting. He is in the big gaggle of cars. Paul Schmallenberg back here. Dave King back here. Tom Lester back here. All these guys back. Oh, Swope makes a crossover move on Sweeting. That was for position, and Sweeting, Chris, I think he might be struggling.
Yeah, he certainly appears to be struggling for sure in that number 75 machine, and you can see it right there. Paul Schudenberg is closing up on him, running a different line, but Sweeney's getting pretty decent momentum out of the corner, Jared. So it actually, you know, it looks like they're pretty much running even as far as 1 and 2, but Sweeney's able to pull away a little bit more in 3 and 4.
Chuck Sweeting doing a good job there, but just not able to get the run down. Jason Spear back in 22nd. He's got Darren Bruce on his back bumper, Brad Patterson in this group, as well as Rick Souza, Adam Newton, Shane Loveridge, and James Torrey, all back here in this last little group of battling. Up front, it's still Tim Bills and Bernard Person stalking him. They have pulled out a 4-second lead over Russell Charnisky. Charnisky got around Maines, and now Stephen Vrooman just gets around Jason Maines. So move Stephen Vrooman up into your top 5. Maines drop into 6. Our pole sitter moving backwards right now, Chris.
That he is. While we were talking during this green flag run, we've had 2 pit stops. Ian Spear jumped to the pits in his machine, and Gil Gawk also made a pit stop as well to repair a little bit of the damage to that machine.
There you go. So Chris with that update on pit road. Good battling out on the track so far tonight. And this is, you know, a lot of these guys, Chris, you know, I'm kind of circling these guys that pitted on lap 13. We got a battle back here. Joe Flanagan, John DeRudris, and Dave Phillips all battling up on there. And DeRudris looking to go really high through the corner. Burt Wilson also in here. This is a battle. Oh, Flanagan in the wall.
Flanagan felt like he had to get up closer to the wall to avoid the 89 machine of Phillips, and just went too far right. Phillips wasn't pinning him up there up against the wall, but he was definitely making Flanagan feel like he was up there. And that's one thing about racing, Jared. You don't really know what to expect. So sometimes you get a little bit of overreacting there, and that's what happened to Flanagan. No harm, no foul. Still continuing to run well in that 53 machine, but now that right side's kind of got a Darlington stripe, but we're at Iowa.
Yeah, exactly right. But to go back to what I was going to say, Chris, oh my goodness, that is Glenn Jamieson. My goodness, he was loose.
Wow, what an incredible job. He was sideways the entire back straightaway there, and these drivers all checked up behind him, but that's going to make Flanagan lose a spot there, and now you can just see how that bunched those drivers up.
Hey, look at this. This is 7 cars all in a group here. Jamieson, Bartel, Flanagan, Nearad, Wilson, and Nearad all in the same group here. 3 wide for, what, 13th there?
Driving hard in this machine. He's so mad at himself for the incident on lap 1, driving this car like a madman to get back up there and do something with it. You can see him going different lanes every corner, trying to make his way back up there, and he's done a pretty dang good job of it at the moment. Just now, currently outside the top 10 in that 12th position, but he's certainly a fast contender here tonight.
And what a battle back here. This is for 10th, basically 10th place. Flanagan's going to be the big loser there. He's dropping to 14th. Burt Wilson looks underneath him for 15th right now. Chuck Sweeting was able to clear Elliott Swope, and now he's on the back of this battle. Schmallenberg is not too far back. Neither is Dave King, Elliott Swope, and Troy Torgerson. So a lot of battling still up here to play with as we are now 50 laps in. But Chris, I'll try this one more time. What about those guys that pitted on lap 13? What are they thinking right now?
Green, green, green. That's what they want. They want to keep this race going as long as possible and hope that they can get a caution in the middle of the pit cycle so they won't have to go in and lose any time, hopefully trapping a couple of good contenders a couple of laps down here, Jared. That's what they're hoping for. They want to go as long as possible, get fresher tires when they can, and use those tires to try to keep momentum up and possibly run better lap times than their competitors.
See, because I believe that the pit window is about 100 laps as far as fuel, so they can split this thing up, come in on 90, come in on 80, and I think that they can make it from there no matter what as this race goes on. But big mover of the night, we got to circle him, Glenn Jamieson. We talked about him earlier. He was pointing at the inside wall coming off turn number 2, but after that he has done a great job in that Dark Matter Designs number 63 tonight, up to 10th place, started in 20th. He is moving forward, Chris.
That he is, up 10 positions as you mentioned. And after that incident, he really gathered that car back up, and he's really putting down some pretty good lap times compared to the drivers that he's racing with. They're a little bit faster than the last couple laps for that 9th position.
Jameson 24.95, a little bit slower, but Drew just loose in front of him. He's going to get a big run here.
That he will. Back behind these two, you've got Dale Nearad looking to the inside. He's trying to move himself up to the 11th position. He's going to do it. That moves TJ Bartel into 12th.
Yeah, TJ not really having the handling I think he wants tonight, as he has been hovering right around where he qualified back there in 14th. He's in 12th currently as Nearad moves forward. He is down 9 positions, Dale Nearad. Rachel Hunt up 8, TJ Bartel up 2. Burt Wilson, teammate to Glenn Jameson, he is up 3 positions, and Chuck Sweeting in 15th. He is up 10 spots as Joe Flanagan continues to drop with that damage. He has dropped back into the realm of Paul Schmallenberg and Elliott Swope, and those guys toward the tail end right now. But Chris, we got to talk about, we haven't seen it yet, but we are getting on that time where we're going to have some guys start to get to lap traffic.
Absolutely. You can bring up the track map. You can kind of get ready to see it as these drivers are going around here. Right now, your leader's coming out of 1 and 2 on the back straightaway, but 28th is going into 3 and 4. So just a couple of straightaways back between your leader and the end of this field, and it's certainly going to heat up. And what else is heating up is Tim Bills. He keeps pulling that lead on Person. Person will cool off his tires and then get right back to the bumper of Bills. Get the lead really fluctuating between half a second and only a tenth or 2/10, and it's really interesting to see how Bills is able to continue to pull the gap back out between him and Person. All the meanwhile, Dean Doucet, he's still running there about exactly where he was, and these 3 drivers, they're still pulling away from that 4th position.
Yeah, gap now from Chernisky to the leader, 5 seconds. Last time we checked, it was 3.5, so about 15 laps ago. Then we have Vrooman, who has gotten ahead of Maines, but hasn't left Maines. As Maines starting to kind of reel him back in. That is a battle for 5th position. Robert Warrens, what a debut for him in the number 95. Shown as 59 here tonight, but number 95 registered. He has qualified 6th, running 7th right now. Phillips. And how about John DeRudris doing a great job in 9th position? He is up 3 spots, and he's been hanging around the back half of the top 10. But now the fast guys starting to come forward. Glenn Jameson, Dale Nearad, they are looking on the back door of this rookie.
Absolutely, you mentioned it. Glenn Jameson, another driver making his way back up to the front. Chuck Sweeney up 11 positions. These drivers, they may have set these cars up to be an extremely long-run car and really took it easy at the beginning of the race. And that's what you're seeing. Their cars are coming alive the longer we go in this race. It certainly seems to be the case for David Phillips, who's up 8, and Glenn Jameson up 10 on the night.
Dave Phillips had just his 3rd race, so having a good run, but now DeRudris trying to seize the guys coming up on the back end of him. He's like, I need to go now. We're going to have to race. And DeRudris with a great run off of the turn. He's going to look inside in turn 1.
James Torrey goes down pit lane. Don't know if it's a scheduled one or not, but he is down there. He was caught up in that incident earlier, so maybe getting damage repaired to that machine.
Torrey on pit road. We'll see if that is a scheduled pit stop or if it is a unscheduled pit stop, but right now, looks like Torrey is down and away. So it looks like a scheduled pit stop as Phillips was able to hold off DeRudris. Now DeRudris has got Jameson and Nearad all over the back bumper.
And these drivers, all of them doing everything they can to just continue the momentum up here. John DeRudris doing a great job. He took that car all the way from the bottom groove all the way up to the top groove coming out of the corner, hanging onto that thing. You can't tell me that he wasn't sliding those tires, trying to get momentum to get around of David Phillips.
Yeah, and then they're also catching Robert Warrens all at the same time. So we're going to have a big battle here in a second. Dale Nearad, who's come from the front wall loose, he clipped the wall there off turn 2. DeRudris drives it in, giving maybe a little bit of a bumper to David Phillips. If you look out the back of that number 89 machine, look at this queue lined up behind him. Is DeRudris going to look again?
Pulls even in the middle of the corner, but not able to get into the throttle on the exit of the corner. near as well, and that's going to provide momentum to that outside lane going down the straightaway.
Into turn 3, and this is difficult as the long run goes on. Turn 3 and 4 kind of flattens out. It's off camber, and it's really difficult to get a run off the corner, but DeRudris trying to stay there, and now Glenn Jamison's going to look on the outside. That might cost DeRudris a spot.
That it looks like it will. That outside groove seems to be the preferred groove here. And Jared, it's really working. You can see there a little bit loose out of that number 59, I believe it's, yeah, for DeRudris, as he slides through that corner. Now he's going to have to fend off Dale Neurath.
James Torrey back on pit road, maybe for a penalty. We'll see what happens with the number 6 machine. Had that damage and likely with some issues there. But up front, we did miss this, and we'll get a replay on it. But Bernard Persson passed for second place.
That he did, and he has fallen off pretty substantially with Dean Doucet getting around him, dropping almost now a little over 2 seconds from your leader.
Well, he's battling with Tim Bill, so here we go. It's a battle for the lead. Oh, and it looks like potentially some internet issue. Yeah, it looks like an internet issue, and it just kind of... He didn't come back on the track, Chris. Wow. So
that is a horrible way to lose a position here, but it happens here. That's the hard thing about internet type racing like we have here. It's all about connections and maintaining your connection to the server. And if you lose it for just a moment, you can lose positions just like that.
Top 5 battle. Jason Baines coming back on Steven Vrooman. We also have the battle for 8th place going on at the same time with Phillips and Jamison. Neurath as well, but we'll stay on the battle for 5th. Baines can't quite get it done off turn 4.
No, he can't, but he's looking to use the momentum of that lower lane here as he arches the corner way deep. And wow, pulls right up alongside, but doesn't have the momentum coming out of the corner.
Vrooman doing a good job holding him off on the outside line. Does a great job, but here comes the Elliott Sadler Esports driver down to the bottom. Here he goes. Can't get it done. He's going to tuck back in line.
Yeah, just can't get the momentum on that bottom groove. He had been working the higher groove to catch up to Vrooman, and now that Vrooman has saw him in the mirror, he's went up to that higher groove as well to try to block the momentum, and it's currently working as Maines has to look even all around this track. Right then, a little last-minute decision on where to go and put that number 1 machine.
Looking back at some of these other battles, Dave Phillips has been able to fend off challenges from DeRudris and Glenn Jamison. He has reestablished himself in 8th place. Jamison up to 9th. Neurath to 10th. DeRudris falls out of the top 10 for the first time tonight into 11th. We got a battle for 9th as Neurath looks on the inside. Jamison with a great run through the corner. He looked on the outside of the 89. Can't get the power down.
Had to figure out where to take the momentum. Couldn't go around the 89. Now has to look to where he can fend off Dale Neurath behind him. Neurath looks to the lower side here, but the momentum just isn't in that lower lane, Jared.
Can't get it done, and now it's difficult. Back, further back, TJ Bartel. He's got some battling going on with Chuck Sweeting. Sweeting sweeps around Bartel on the low side and moved Sweeting up into the top 12.
Sweeney doing a great job, up 13 positions now in the night. We saw this last week. Chuck Sweeney, he knows how to get to the front at the end, looking to do it now, trying to break into the top 10 before we get to that first pit stop and possibly only pit stop.
And Chris, he did pit on lap 13, but he is 9.5 seconds behind Tim Bills. Does that too much of a gap to overcome, or has he still got a shot at this thing?
It's still a long race, Jared. There could be cautions. There could be an advantage given to Sweeney just by the leaders catching lap traffic. You never know. Up front, or not up front, but for 5th position, Vrooman is really doing everything he can to fend off Maines. Maines got up to his back bumper and was not able to do anything with it. Now looking, he's got the momentum coming out of 3 and 4. Can't really do anything with it though, Jared. He's not able to dive down low into 1. But he's doing everything he possibly can. You can definitely tell he's a little bit faster coming out of the corner. Maybe, nope, can't pull on side.
My goodness, and you watch Jason Baines from our rear view camera here, looking out the back from Vrooman. I mean, Baines is all over that wheel. This is allowing Robert Warrens to get back into this battle, and Vrooman in that apropos the Grinch car for the time of year. So very Very apropos paint scheme for him as we got some guys on pit road. Elliott Swope, Shane Lawbridge on there. Here comes a big run from Maines.
And once again, has to get out of it, nowhere to go behind Ruman. Just not sure what lane he wants to go. He wants to high groove. And unfortunately, Ruman's just not going to give it to him, Jared. And because of it, Maine has to let out on the throttle and loses the momentum. It's just not working for him.
Yeah, and he's trying a lot of different things. I mean, he is not giving up on this position because he sees Robert Warren's catching him. And both of these guys, Vrooman and Jason Maines, are catching Russell Cherniske for fourth position. So there is a lot at play here as we got Rick Souza in pit road, down on pit road, it looks like, with a 15-second pit stop for Souza. And Elliott Swope down the way as well for 23rd. Oh, here we go. Maine's big run down the middle. He's going to try to get there, and he just can't do it, Chris.
No, he just can't get the momentum enough to get alongside him. And rightfully so, he doesn't want to go to that low line because it hasn't been working for him all race long. We've watched it. And while these drivers are doing it, behind him, Robert Waynes he's catching them. Now you can see the one gets alongside Roman, but coming out of the corner, nowhere to go. He's a little bit better right now, but still, Roman has him cleared going into 3.
Jason Maines putting up a great show here tonight, and he looks down to the inside. This is going to be a good. Oh, he's just loose. He just got loose, Chris.
Got loose, had to get out of it, but look what it did. Immediately now you've got the car behind him, the 95, right on his bumper. I mean, these drivers they're racing hard. They may be catching the 20, but it's about the drivers behind them that's catching them while they're battling.
Joe Flanagan on pit road from 20th position. And we jump on board Robert Warrens. Let's go on board with him. And you see Jason Maines. Here he goes. He might have a run now, Chris.
He's got a good run going into 1, diving to the low there, trying to break. He's trying to go a little bit higher off of the corner there, trying to get the arc in the corner to pull even beside Vrooman. He's got him. It's a drag race down the back straightaway. This may be the pass that Maines needed to get around Vrooman.
Warrens is checking in. Oh, Vrooman.
Both of them had to get out of the throttle coming through that corner there. That's going to put Maines in position here going into 1. He's going to have to dive it down deep, but no, he doesn't. Vrooman goes extremely high. Now Maines is going to shut the door on that outside lane.
Great racing. Top A-class racing from 2 A-class drivers, Maines and Vrooman. Maines back into the top 5. Vrooman drops to 6. Now Robert Warrens wants to get in on the action. Cherniske, the next one up for Maines, if he can get there. Back behind them, it's Phillips, and this battle's starting to heat up as now Glenn Jameson gets around him, and now Dale Nearad gets around him.
Nearad looking on the inside there, gets a little bit loose coming out of the corner, has to check up. That's going to allow the Phillips to pull alongside, get at least a fender there. Nearad going to have to try to make it work on the inside, but that 89 using the momentum on the outside to pull alongside and pass the 27.
What a great race here. Dave Phillips has been holding off these 5 cars for about, 30, 40 laps now, Chris. Nobody's been able to pass the 89 machine. He has been the roadblock from 8th on back. Jameson couldn't do it. DeRugis couldn't do it. And now Dale Nearad looks like he isn't able to do it.
And Nearad does a smart thing here. He goes to that middle groove here, trying to force to get the momentum out of the corner. He does. He's going to easily power around now that he has the momentum, but has to dive down into the corner here and shut the door on the 89. That's exactly what we saw out of Maines in the 1. And it works. It's the only way to make that bottom groove seem to work at the moment, Jared.
Nearad up to 8th. Dave Phillips drops, and now we got 3 wide. DeRugis coming through.
Oh, man. What an incredible showing out of these drivers as they're doing everything they can. That bottom groove, though, it's so difficult here as now Jameson is going to pull alongside. He'll come alongside DeRugis. He'll have the momentum coming out of the corner in that 63 machine on the outside. But what an interesting battle between these guys. And, whoa, the 63 had to get way out of it there to not get into the Phillips.
And Phillips and DeRugis, what a pass. What a job. Drove it down into 3 and moved John DeRugis up into 9th place. And now Jameson, he says, you know what, I've had enough. I've got to go. And now he's going to try to get around Dave Phillips.
And Phillips is really struggling right now. May have overheated those tires trying to fend off the battles here tonight in this moment, and that's really starting to hurt him. Now Chuck Sweeting underneath him, he's going to pull the momentum, Sweeney's making that bottom work, Jared, and it's interesting to see. He still has the momentum coming out of the corners. Some of these drivers right now don't.
Yeah, Chuck Sweeting doing a good job. He blows by Phillips with ease. Now Phillips has dropped to the end, almost the end of this pack. TJ Bartel and Burt Wilson, your last two in this little group here. Schmallenberg about a 7/10 back. We got more.
And Phillips is coming to pit road.
Yeah, I was going to say he has to come in, and there he goes. Rachel Hunt down the way. Loveridge back on pit road as well.
It feels like forever since we checked in with our leaders, as now Tim Bills is catching on that lap traffic. You can see it, 20th position right in front of him. That's going to make things interesting. Dean Doucet, he had caught back up to Tim Bills, made that gap only 0.6 of a second, but once again, Bills, as soon as he's able to clear lap traffic, continues to pull away from that second car, no matter if it's Person or Doucet. Now, it looks like Tim Bills coming in.
Bills is in from the lead. That's going to turn it over for Dean Doucet. And now the door has been opened for the lead pack. Russell Charniski comes in. Vrooman comes in. Burt Wilson comes, or sorry, Glenn Jamieson comes in from 10th place.
A lot of drivers, Jared, are playing follow the leader here. That's a great strategy if you think it's going to work. But unfortunately, usually if you follow the leader, you continue doing so.
Jason Maines down the way. Vrooman down the way. Battle off of pit road between the 00 and the 1. And Maines is going to pick him. Just barely got him off, but Vrooman was not going to make it easy on him.
No, he didn't. Tim Bills coming out of pit road now. It'll be interesting to see where he cycles out onto the track here. Coming on the back straightaway.
So Dale Nearad in. Dean Doucet stays out. We have 10 cars that have not pitted, or not technically pitted on this round yet. But 3 of those cars pitted on lap 13. But our person there further back. But Chuck Sweeting 9 seconds back from this group. He's the first car on those newer tires on lap 13. Doesn't look like he actually took tires. Looks like it was a fuel only. Person is in from second.
Person and Darujus Nearad all in on pit road now. It's interesting to see what's going to happen. It looks like Tim Bills may be able to pull some time on Dean Doucet. Doucet electing to stay out as long as possible. That's great if you think it'll work, but Jared, that just means you're losing that much time to Bills as he's able to get around here with his fresher tires.
You know, Chris, and I've seen these races so many times with the B car especially. I think that you want to have fresher tires at the end of the race. I like what Dean Doucet and Chuck Sweeting are doing, but if you're Dean Doucet, I would be a little bit concerned about Chuck Sweeting being the guy coming up on you because, my goodness, we've seen what he can do in a long run setup with some fresh tires at the end. Dean Doucet down to the low side. He's coming in now from the lead. Got a couple other drivers coming in. That's Shane Loveridge back in. Might have had a penalty there. So that's going to turn the lead over to Chuck Sweeting. He does lead this lap, not by much, but there's Tim Bills just in the foreground there, just getting around Elliott Slope there, not the position. But Tim Bills about to unlap himself from Chuck Sweeting.
Yeah, certainly what he needs to do is get up here and easily get around Chuck Sweeting in that 75, get that lap back, so that way he can go ahead and start making ground up and try to pull away. He's got to figure it out because Dean Doucet, he's going to be coming out right behind him. And Bills, yeah, right now, Dean Doucet still coming out of pit road. He's going to gain a lot of time on, Tim Bills is going to gain a lot of time on Dean Doucet.
Dave King pitting from third. Dean Doucet coming out. He's going to come out just ahead, right alongside, actually, Russell Charniski and in front of Steven Vrooman.
Chuck Sweeting now going to pit road, going to give the lead over to the number 70 of Burt Wilson.
So Burt Wilson and now Jason Maines goes by. That puts Maines back on the lead lap. 6 drivers on the lead lap. And of those, 4 drivers haven't pitted. Chuck Sweeting now up. Now, Burt Wilson, he did not pit on lap 13, Chris. He has stretched this thing out. He is using all the fuel that thing has.
That he is. And Jared, right now we're at a critical moment in these green flag pit stops. Right now, if you were to bring out a caution here, Tim Bills, Jason Maines, they've already pitted. They don't need to pit again. That's going to trap people a lap down as Dean Doucet, he's going to get his lap back But if a caution comes out right now, it's going to change the complexion of the race.
Burt Wilson, he is going to let all those drivers by, so that puts 8 cars on the lead lap. Behind them, Person and Warren's battling. That is currently for 8 on the track. Person did not have a good pit stop, one of the slowest of the race, 16 seconds in the pit road and 17 seconds, or 51 seconds on the pit lane. And Burt Wilson's coming in now, Chris.
And it looks like the only persons that are left out that are on those older tires, Patterson and Torgerson, are left out. Then it'll be Tim Bills. Patterson will take over the lead, and just now barely leads that lap by a hair.
So Patterson to the lead. Now Torgerson into second. And Torgerson, he's not too far ahead of Tim Bills. He's going to get past pretty soon. So Troy really just stretching this thing out as long as he possibly can.
And just like that, now 18 drivers back on the lead lap. That's going to change the complexion of this race, as these drivers are all doing everything they can just to kind of figure out what's going on. The real loser in this green flag pit stop sequence, though, you mentioned it, Person, he's falling back. Now Torgerson is making his way to pit road.
So everybody has pitted except Brad Patterson. Here comes Bernard Person, 3 wide with Flanagan. He's going to go around. Now Robert Warren's trying to get back around him on the bottom. Person's going to hold him off for 7th. Big winner, though, Chris, Jason Maines. He was able to jump some guys and by quite a bit. I mean, now he's up to 2nd place. It's like him and Bernard Person switch places.
Absolutely. Dean Doucet, he had a pretty average pit stop, but Maines, he was able to get around and pull a little bit on him. Now Dean Doucet tracking him back down, but even still, it looks like these 2 drivers, they've got a long ways to get back up to Bills. That gap right now is almost 4 seconds.
4 seconds. Brad Patterson's still on the track, so he is staying out, really pushing those laps there. Joe Flanagan into the pits again, wrecked it off turn 2. So a tough night for the 53 machine, but now Brad Patterson trying to just kind of sneak this thing out. Right now, everybody's on the lead lap from 16th on forward, so caution comes out.
Dean Doucet gets around Jason Maines, that one machine, for that 3rd position, which will soon be, I would believe, 2nd position, as Patterson will have to come to pit road at some point. And I believe now he is.
So Bills assumes the lead, and Doucet will move back to 2nd place. Maines to 3rd, Chernisky back to 4th, and now Bernard Person getting around Steven Vrooman for 5th. So Person in the 8 machine coming forward.
And interesting strategy, but now your leader completely in lap traffic. Got 2 lead lap cars right now in front of him, battling side by side as he's going to come up to Rachel Hunt and Jason Spear. These 2 drivers, now it looks like Hunt falls back, gets a little bit loose on the outside, but now Bills have to get around the 16.
So Bills to the low side, 3.7 seconds. And keep in mind, 5 lap newer tires for Dean Doucet. So Tim Bills hopefully been taking care of those tires as he came out pits. Jason Spear there next up. He is in 16th position. Looking back through the field, Robert Warren's in 7th. John DeRudris, with his pit stops, he's made himself up into 8th. Dave Phillips in 9th, just ahead of Glenn Jamieson. Back to that battle again, and Chuck Sweeting in 11th.
Nearad had gained up all the way up to, I believe, 9th position. He's now back in 12th, so not a good stop for him as he loses speed on pit road. Chuck Sweeting up to 11th now, trying to break into that top 10. He was in 12th on that pit stop sequence.
Torgerson trying to work his way back around Nearad here, but Nearad in 12th place. Schmalmenberg, Bartel, Swope, Jason Spear, all your lead lap cars right now. Spear, he's got the mirror open of Tim Bills.
That he does. Person now moving himself back up into the 4th position as he'll set his sights on Jason Maines.
Great job driving by these drivers tonight. Dean Doucet got a battle in front of him. Some lap cars. Darren Bruce, his teammate, the 19, of Dave King back there. That is a battle for them in 19th position. Darren Bruce not having a good race tonight. He has in the top 5 points, but may drop out after this race as David King gets out of the way of Dean Doucet. Doucet down to 3 seconds.
Chuck Sweeney and David Phillips, they're having a great race up here for the 9th position. Looks like Phillips got a little bit loose coming out of the corner. That's going to put him into the crosshairs of Glenn Jamieson in the 63 behind him. But these drivers, they were pretty much swapping position there for 9th. Pretty hardcore, but once again, Chuck Sweeney breaking himself into the top 10 late into the race.
Chuck Sweeney coming forward. Dave Phillips holding everybody up again, man. I mean, what a drive by Dave Phillips. He has been able to put that car, and when I say that, I don't mean that in a negative way. I know that could sound negative, but Dave Phillips, whale of a job by this driver to really just find out what his car needed tonight and just make it difficult for guys to get around him. Doing a great job in 10th position, holding off Jamieson. Now, Nearad, Chris, you mentioned that he came into the pits in 8th place. He is in 12th position now and doesn't look like he's making any inroads on the guys in front of him.
No, absolutely not. Behind him, TJ Bartell is really in a heated battle. Brad Patterson, not on the same lap, goes around with those fresher tires, but he's in the battle with, I believe that is Paul Schutenberg and the 90 machine, scored on your tower, 98 on the track. Oh, I apologize. That is not Schutenberg in the 90.
Paul Schmallenberg there in the 90. A little bit off the back here, but he is still in the battle. Jason Spears still holding on to being on the lead lap, and Dean Doucet has closed that gap down to under 3 seconds, Chris.
Yeah, down to 2.59 seconds and closing, Jared. He's able to get through the corners a little bit better than Tim Bills with those fresher tires. That's going to play a key here. When they pitted, the distance between those two was 1.4 seconds, and now it is only about a second and 2/10 difference, make it now almost just a second difference. So if he's able to close back up just even a second or a little bit more, that'll be enough, Jared, to make that net gain worth it.
Tom Lester on pit road from 24th position. There's Tim Bills doing a good job. Dean Doucet, 2.5 seconds, Chris, like we talked about. Jason Maines, though, could get caught by Bernard Person, who does get around Russell Chernisky for 4th position. So Jason Maines, he's going to have a battle on his hands, but the top 3 of the top 4 positions are 3 of the top 4 points, Chris. Is that any surprise to you?
Not at all. I mean, these drivers, the best way to be up higher in points, Jared, is to be consistent. That's what they're doing here tonight. They're just showing it. Dean Doucet, Jason Maines in person, they've all been constantly up in the top 5, top 6 drivers all season long, and it's showing here tonight that consistency is really mattering.
Great job, all these drivers tonight. Tom Lester down in the way. Grumman in 6th position, having his best run of the season. Robert Warren's on his debut inside the top 10 comfortably. Then you got Chuck Sweeting. Then you've got John DeRugis and Dave Phillips, your top 10, still battling with Glenn Jamieson. TJ Bartell has gotten around Dale Nearad. That was for position, so Dale Nearad really struggling on these tires as he drops back to 13th.
And Jared, that's one thing that's interesting about this track. You can run these cars way too hard at the beginning of a run. That's going to make it all that more difficult for you to be able to get around here. But not only that, there was sun out on the track. It's gone. It's night now. It is completely night at the track. That's going to change the handling of this car, and that might be what's impacting Dale Nearad here.
The handling has definitely gone away from him. But, I got to give a shout out to Jason Spear, your cousin here. 30 laps he has stayed in front of Tim Bills, and Tim Bills has not really cut him down yet.
I can tell you, if there's anything about a Spear, it's that we're hard-headed and we're not going to make it easy on you no matter what. And you can see it as he's able to continue to stay in front of your leader there. And you mentioned it, he's not losing time to the leader. If anything, Tim Bills is running about the same lap time, so maybe a 10th here or there between the two. But what that's doing is really just kind of making Tim Bills play the patient game here. And the problem with that is you can see it behind him. Tim Bills, he has a lap catching him.
Yeah, Burt Wilson, and Burt Wilson wants to get around Tim Bills because Jason Spear is a position that he could get here. So this is very interesting strategy. Bills goes to the low side, Wilson to the high side.
interesting to note, though, Dean Doucet, he's not been able to close the gap between him and Tim Bill since we mentioned it. It was right at 2.5 seconds when we last talked about it about 5 laps ago. It's still 2.5, 2.6 seconds.
Let's take a look at that time delta graph. One of my favorite things to do in the middle of this run. We've had such a long green flag run. It's been amazing here tonight. But let's take a look at that graph and just see what we can come up with our time delta. And you see it, Chris. I mean, the bar graph, pretty much even. A click here for Doucet, a click there for Bills, but it hasn't really moved in the favor of Doucet.
No, not at all. And it's interesting to see how these drivers are doing now. The last couple of laps, Dean Doucet was a little bit faster, a tenth faster on lap 124, on 125, just only 600ths faster. But it's going to be interesting to see in these next couple of laps. Bert Wilson, he is all over the back of your leader, and not too far behind him, you have the number 2 car as well.
So they just passed Adam Newton. Adam Newton 25th, now 2 laps down. What do you do? So, when this situation comes up, Chris, it's always difficult. You're the race leader. You want to be the guy in front. You got a guy on definitely newer tires by about 20 laps. But he's not really that much faster than you are. And he's a lap down. What do you do in these circumstances? If you're Bert Wilson, do you try to just kind of force your way by, knowing you're faster, knowing you're getting held up? Or if you're Tim Bills, do you just let this guy go? What do you do in this situation?
Well, if you're Tim Bills, the answer is pretty clear. You're frustrated. You're the leader. That means you've got to be the fastest car on the track. That's what that means, pretty much. But no, because of the strategy, it makes it that much more frustrating because you need to get up there to catch Spear. You need to put him a lap down. The more cars that are lap down, the better. But unfortunately, as Wilson's able to close up, you see that, and you know that means that you've got to pick up the pace somewhere. But you can't do it and overdrive the car. So then you have to decide whether or not you're going to let the 70 car go back around you. But that's putting a car back on the lead lap. You don't want to do that either. That's the opposite of what you're trying to do here by trying to get around Spear. But at some point, it might be beneficial to just let that 70 go. Problem is, if he does that and Spear in the 83 and the 70 start battling, that could slow him down, cost him a lot of time, and have Dean Doucet catch back up to him.
Here comes Bills. He is catching up to this lap traffic, and Bert Wilson also getting involved here because he knows that's a battle for position. Also, the lucky dog if we do get a caution. So if Bills puts Spear a lap down, Bert Wilson wants that spot too. So really interesting, but that gap still about 2.5 seconds as Bills now finally going to get alongside Jason Spear after about 40 laps being behind him.
Farther back, Chuck Sweeney is looking to get around Vrooman and the double zeros. Those two drivers are side by side for 6th place. And I got to tell you, Jared, if Chuck Sweeney's up here able to get up here and get a podium tonight, he needs to change that number to 18 because he has come from the back to the front here. And I mean, that's a traditional Kyle Busch type thing. I don't know if he's a Kyle Busch fan. I'm not a Kyle Busch fan, but there's no denying it. That's what he's able to do with a lot of different tracks.
Chuck Sweeting up to 6th spot, started in 25th tonight, so doing a great job. He is only about 1.5 seconds or so behind Russell Triniski for a top 5 finish here tonight after starting so far behind. But right now, it is all Dean Doucet in 2nd, but Bernard Persson has caught Jason Maines for 3rd. And
that Persson is going to have to do everything he can to get around Maines. A little bit slower. If you look at lap times here, Person's been about half a tenth faster than a couple of laps. It was really helping him close up to the back bumper in one machine.
This is looks like Jason Maines lost a lot of time in one lap there. And that's what's really let Bernard Persson in. Bernard Persson looking on the inside in turn number 3, trying to make the move. Side by side coming off 4.
Has to get out of it. He was worried he was going to risk getting into the number 1 machine. Has to let out of it. Loses a lot of time there. But both of these drivers, they're losing time to your leaders here because of it. They're just running so much harder from each other. Dean Doucet now breaks the 2-second mark, under 2 seconds from him to Tim Bills.
Under 2 seconds, 40 laps to go at the line. And Tim Bills now maybe feeling a little bit pressure here. Tim Bills was able to get through some lap traffic, and now that lap traffic is battling side by side, so Dean Doucet will have to go through it as well. Jason Maines has Bernard Person all over his back bumper, but the next guy up that we have battles going on with, again, Glenn Jamison and Dave Phillips have been battling for 10th for now 40 laps. So that's our next battle on the track. John DeRudris, shout out to him. He was able to get around Robert Warrens for 8th place, and he has set his sights on Stephen Grumman, Chris. And you look at the way this race has transpired and how the race went last week, it looks like it's going to concertina back up. Everybody going to start kind of getting closer and closer, and some battle positions up for grabs here at the end of the race.
Absolutely. Chuck Sweeney battling against some lap cars as he's looking to close up on that number 20 machine. He can see him now. He's brought it down a little bit, as about 0.8 of a second between him and the 20 machine, but he's got a lap car in between him, making it all that much more difficult to get up and battle for that 5th position.
Chuck Sweeney there, and wow, look at this group. Darren Bruce in there, the 21 of Elliott Swope there. Oh, Swope loose off the corner. Holds on to it. He's in 20th position. And he's got some drivers not too far behind him in his battle. But Darren Bruce there now lets Chuck Sweeney go. So Chuck Sweeney has open track to Rachel Hunt. As Bernard Person and Jason Maines continue to battle. Person loose off turn 4.
Once again, Person gets close and up to the side of the one, going to that bottom groove though, Jared. As soon as he hits the throttle coming out of the corner, he has to get out of it because he's so worried he's going to get into the one machine. And Jared, I'm fairly certain if he doesn't get out of it, he ends up being a decal on the side of that one machine.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's just how Iowa is. I mean, it sweeps out so rapidly from the bottom. It just breaks away very off camber, and very difficult to do things on the bottom line with somebody on the outside of it. So Maines has that gap again. Person will have to regroup and try once more. Chernisky, though, if you look out the back of that number 20 machine, he's got Chuck Sweeting rolling up on the back of him. That's a battle for 5th.
That it is. We mentioned that Dean Doucet had broken it down to less than 2 seconds. Well, now it's flirting with 3 seconds as Tim Bills is starting to pull away again, as Chuck Chernisky has Chuck Sweeney all over the back bumper of him.
And now Chuck Sweeney, what can he do to get in the top 5? And these guys are only about 2 seconds behind Maines in Person. It is not out of the realm of possibility, Chris, that Chuck Sweeney, or Russell Chernisky for that matter, could sneak a podium.
Absolutely, and Maines in Person, they're battling side by side every so often, and that's just making it that much harder for them to make up time, and they're losing time to your leader and to Dean Doucet. And so you're right. I mean, if those two drivers up there keep continuing to battle side by side, Chernisky and Sweeney could possibly get up there and battle for it. Chuck Sweeney got a good momentum coming up. The likes to not wait for it, wait for it and be a little bit more patient, try to gather it up, try to get the momentum. And oh, Chuck Sweeney got wicked loose coming out of the corner, Jared.
Way loose off the corner. He's going to have to do the same thing Bernard Person's been doing and regroup and try to get back at that 20. And Russell Chernisky actually ran the bottom line through 3 and 4, so a little bit interesting line. Jason Maines continuing to hold off Bernard Person for 3rd. Great battles all over the track as we come down to 30 laps to go at the line.
30 laps to go may seem like a long time, Jared, but this 7/8 of a mile track will put them down quickly here with the lap times of around 25 seconds here on the track. These drivers, they know it. The clock's winding down. You got to get up here, put the elbows up, and figure out a way to advance your position if you're going to by the checkered flag.
Side by side again between Person and Maines coming off turn number 2. Person slides down in the middle. Maines up to the wall. Maines might have scraped the wall a little bit. That's going to hold open the door. Maines battles back on the outside. Can't get clear Person.
That outside groove, Jared, just continues the momentum a little bit better than the inside. Oh, Person gets loose, goes up the track. Both of them have to get out of it. That may be an advantage to Person coming out of the corner.
Contact between them coming off turn 2. Maines still stays in it. Slides it up the wall. He hits the wall. Person's going to go through for 3rd.
Wow. These drivers, they're battling hard. You can see it there as Maines gets up into the wall. He was running extremely high up there, trying to give Bernard Persson the room on basically the third groove through the corners there. And that's what happens. You just get up into the marbles and get up into the wall here, Jared. It's pretty easy to do when you're trying to go that far high.
Now we focus back in on that battle for 5th place. Chuck Sweeting trying to make a move on Russell Charneski, and almost Chuck Sweeting in the wall. We also have a battle for 10th too. TJ Bartel and Dave Phillips battling for the back half of the top 10. Go ahead.
You can see it here, Jared. These drivers, every one of them, they know it's go time. You've got to do it. And beyond that, they want to get up here and show what they've got. So battling up here. Oh, TJ Bartel around on the back straightaway.
Hard into the wall. And that's going to bring out a yellow flag with 25 laps to go.
If this race didn't just get more complicated now, I don't know what did. That's going to make everything different. It's all going to be about who does what. I'm pretty certain, Jared, everyone's going to come down pit road to get fresh tires. It's going to be about what changes they make to these cars.
And that was some contact with Dave Phillips and TJ Bartel. And let's take another look at it. Looks like Phillips may have had to check up for a lap car, but we'll take a better look and see what happened here. So Phillips on the outside. The 21 car is there, and Phillips goes to go around him. I think the 21 was trying to let Phillips go and didn't know Bartel was there, and heavy impact for the 80 machine.
Yeah, definitely a bad opportunity there for TJ Bartel. Just nowhere to go. And it looks like Phillips may have gotten a little bit loose when he got out of the throttle when he was trying to get alongside the 21.
Burt Wilson also beat Jason Spear to the line, so he will be able to get the lucky dog. So tough break for Jason Spear, good break for Burt Wilson. Everybody on the lead lap, though, Chris, as you said, coming down pit road.
Absolutely. Follow the leader here. That's what it's all about. These drivers are going to do everything they possibly can to figure out how to make these cars better for this last 24. It'll probably be around 21 laps to go when we go back green here, and that's what it's going to be about. What can you do? What changes can you do to these machines to make them faster than your competitors with this short run that we're going to have?
I would say drop the rear end and go. I mean, just drop that rear end down, and here comes Bills off pit road. Maines is going to beat Persson off for 3rd position, so that's going to be huge. Chuck Sweeting down, Warren's down. There is Dave Phillips. There is Glenn Jamieson, Dale Nearad tied at the line, and that's everybody off pit road. So there you go, Chris. Burt Wilson will come in. He is the lucky dog, so he has not made his pit stop yet. And all the
everything just completely changes. Erase all those leads. Now it's going to be all about what happens on the track, and it's certainly not going to be easy. Interesting now, though, Chuck Sweeney moved him to 4th. Chernowski in the 20th is going to be 5th. Ruben 6th. Garugis 7th. Warren's 8th. Phillips 9th. And 10th currently scored is Dean Doucet.
Dean Doucet speeding on pit road, Chris. He is dropping to the back.
Oh, man. That is an incredible, heartbreaking moment for him. At this point, Jared, I mean, that all those positions he's losing, that we talk about it usually every week, and we hadn't mentioned it this week about making mistakes getting on and off of pit road. And right then, just that's a critical mistake.
There's the message coming across the bottom of the screen there. Penalty for Dean Doucet. 2nd place. I mean, he was definitely the second driver, maybe a winning driver tonight, but right now he is going to have to fight his way back through the field, unfortunately. 22 laps to go. We'll probably get this thing restarted, Chris, with 20 to go. What do you do in this situation if you're Tim Bills? I mean, you had that a 3-second lead over Dean Doucet, a 10-second lead over Jason Maines and Bernard Persson. Now things have really flipped upside down.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting thing. If you're Tim Bills, you got to continue to run your race. No one's been able to get up and get around you since you took the lead. What makes this any different? That's what's going to come down to. You've got to be able to get out front of Maines. Once you do that, run your race. There's really no one's been able to catch you. why you got to try something different? At any point, Jared, this is going to help Tim Bills. He's not going to have to worry about lap traffic with just 22 laps to go. He's not going to catch them unless they're damaged. If you're damaged, most likely you're going to get out of the way anyway and let the leaders race their race. So that helps. That means you get to choose where you go on the racetrack. If you notice the drivers behind you are able to run a different lane than you and a little bit faster, you have the opportunity to go up and run that same lane and force them to do it the hard way.
You saw those drivers going by on the screen. Troy Torgerson, Brad Patterson, Rachel Hunt, Darren Bruce, Elliott Swope all will take the waiver round. They elected not to pit. Elliott Swope pitted on lap 76, so he's going to have some really old tires. Patterson and Torgerson passed lap 100, so they have a little bit fresher tires to try to get something done. But one way to get back on the lead lap for those drivers involved. Burt Wilson there in 14th and Dean Doucet in 13th. They will have to come from the back. Tim Bills is your race leader. 21 laps to go. When they cross the line, it'll be 20 laps to go. Jason Main's the pole setter. He is back on second alongside Bills. Person and Sweeting. Here we go. Green flag back out.
Great start there by the 37 of Tim Bills as he's able to pull away behind him. Vrooman in the 00. He had a not so good restart. He's starting to lose positions. Chuck Sweeney though, he's loose sideways.
Sweeting loose, wrecking. Warren's involved. Phillips involved.
Yellow flag will come out with 20 laps to go. Holy moly, what a mayhem right then.
And that sets up great for those drivers that took the wave around, first and foremost, but that did not work out for a lot of drivers behind Chuck Sweeting. Let's take a look at the replay and see what happened here. So here we go. Sweeting on the outside line. And just gets up high, just gets up way, 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 way high. Does a great job saving it, but everybody, it looks like Vrooman, Warren's checked up. Vrooman may have not checked up. We'll have to get a better view there, but contact made back there further.
And it looks like John DeRugis in the 59, he was trying to get out of the throttle or check up, and it sent his car straight up the track, and that put those drivers behind him in a terrible position as they were trying to get around Sweeney. And because of that little incidental contact, and that sent Warren into the infield there. Tough night for the driver of that is a 95. Sorry, it's a 59 on our screen, makes it that much more difficult.
Let's jump on board with Dave Phillips and see what he saw. So looking out the back, there's the 59 of Robert Warrens and the 59 John DeRugis. Yeah, Sweeting loose. DeRugis tries to slide up the track like a normal, but it doesn't know that car is there, and Dave Phillips gets damaged. Warren spun around, but man, oh man. This is what happens when you have a 110 lap green flag run, and now you have 18 laps left on the board. Everybody's going to try to get what they can get, but that just was just a mistake by Chuck Sweeney. Just got a little bit too loose on the outside. Did have some drivers come down pit road that weren't involved in that. Obviously, Hunt, Swope, Patterson, and Torgerson all came down pit road. That they all took the wave around, so that worked out great for those drivers. Warrens, Bruce, and Phillips all on pit road with damage. Phillips down the way, so the 89, who was looking like a top 10 finish for him tonight, going to have to work back to the front.
Yeah, Jason Spear able to get the lucky dog there. Good note for Dean Doucet, though, in all of that incident going on, he'll be able to go at least back up to 12th there, as he was having to start at the rear of the field there. Behind all those lap cars, he'll now be able to restart with the drivers on the same lap as him. That'll mean he'll be able to actually race for positions.
Yeah, and that's a huge, huge thing for those drivers. Jason Spear, lucky dog. You see him on the screen with the number 80, the royal blue number 83 there. He'll probably, I would think, maybe he might not come down, having just pitted. But now, that changes things up a lot. Look at the big gain there. John DeRugis makes it through the wreck, and he is up to 5th position.
Yeah, he checked up. We mentioned it. He got on the brakes as soon as he saw what was happening, sent the car straight, but luckily for him, it put him out of harm's way. The harm happened behind him, because of the checkups, and really he gets to skate around here, gaining a couple positions. Now he is going to be in that 5th position, looking on a top 5 finish, and I believe his first race here in the Wind Tunnel Racing Xfinity Series.
Exactly right. Chuck Sweeting drops to 6th. Vrooman in 7th. He made the contact with Robert Warrens. Does have some damage on that left side, but elected not to come down pit road. Then you got Glenn Jamieson, Neerad, and Paul Schmallenberg up into the top 10. So good run for Paul there, sneaking his way to the top 10. Wilson in 12th, or 11th. Dean Doucet 12th. Hunt in 13th. Swope, Patterson, and Torgerson, your top 16 drivers. Phillips, Bruce, and Spear back there as well. Robert Warrens down and away from pit road. I think he may have lost a lap. No, he did not. So we will have, Chris, 20 drivers on the lead lap.
20 drivers on the lead laps. We're going to go back racing with 14 laps to go. These cars getting side by side now. Behind your pace car, it'll be Tim Bills on the inside, Jason Maines on the outside in that number 1 machine. Behind the Bernard Person and Russell Ternowski. Rounding out your top 5, John DeRugis with Chuck Sweeney in the 6th position. 7th and 8th going to be Stephen Vrooman, Glenn Jamieson, Dale Neerad, and Paul Schallenberg rounding out your top 10. Bert Wilson, he got the lucky dog 2 cautions ago now. He is up into the 11th place, so great turnaround for that driver of the 70 machine.
15 to go. Tim Bills has dominated since about lap 20. Has led pretty much all laps except through pit sequences. Can he hold off Jason Maines and Bernard Person for the win? We're about to find out. Pace car off. Restart zone. Tim Bills waits, and now we're going. Good restart by the 37.
Great restart there as Tim Bills pulls 2 car leans on the 1 of Jason Maines. Person right there, though, on the back bumper of the 1. Has to get out of it in the middle of the corner. Loses a little bit of momentum. Now Maines, Person, they're going to have to battle back to get to the 37. Right now, the battle is for 4th.
DeRugis underneath Charniski. Move DeRugis in the 59 up into the top 5, into 4th. He gets a little bit loose, but Charniski makes the undercut.
Makes the undercut, dives to the inside here, going into 1, but can't carry the momentum. Now Chuck Sweeney to his outside on the high side. The 20 has to get out of it, gets really loose, loses 3-4 spots. Now Chuck Sweeney will be up into the top 5 again. DeRugis right in front of him. And it's close up here with your top 3 as well. These drivers not able to get away from each other as we have a spinner in the infield.
Paul Schmallenberg down through the grass. He holds on to it using the access road, so we're going to stay green. Schmallenberg sacrificing himself a little bit there, not bringing out a caution. Not sure it would have anyway. Battle for the top position is kind of cooled down a little bit. DeRugis able to hold off Chuck Sweeting for now. Looking further back, Jamieson, he's got Neerad, Charniski all in the back of him. Bert Wilson to 10th. Rachel Hunt up to 11th. And where did Dean Doucet go, Chris? He is on pit road. I'm guessing a penalty for Dean Doucet as he is down on pit road and he has dropped to 22nd position.
We talked about him being one of those drivers, Jared, that have been consistent in this series. That's really going to hurt him points-wise between the battle between him, Person, and Maines in those top 3 positions.
Bills continuing to lead. 10 laps to go at Iowa. Person sliding back. Battle for 4th is on as Sweeting trying to get there. DeRugis having a great run on the outside. He is trying his hardest, and he is going to stick there for now on Chuck Sweeting. 9 to go at the line.
DeRugis got a little loose coming out of 2 this last time, going into 1 now. Chuck Sweeney's going to look to see what he can do to get around. Chuck Sweeney able to roll the middle of that corner really well and pulls up almost alongside DeRugis coming out of the corner, but can't get the momentum like DeRugis can on the outside.
DeRugis in his debut has one of the best Xfinity drivers out there on his back bumper up front. Bill's still holding the gap to Maines. We'll focus back in on that battle. Has not reduced. Maines trying to do everything he can. Back to the battle for 4th. Sweeting all over the back end of that number 59 machine. Let's look out the back end of the 59. Sweeting looking every which way, can't find a way through yet.
Chuck Sweeney got loose coming out of 2 that time, Jared. Trying to get there, trying to make the undercut, not able to do it. Loses a little bit of momentum again, coming out of 3 and 4. At 2 DeRugis, he's going to have to try something different if he's going to get up here and get around him. Once again, going to the low groove. Seems to be able to make the momentum out of it, but still not able to close that gap on the driver of the 59 machine.
DeRugis having a great run tonight. holding off the 75. They're actually both gaining on Bernard Person, so this could be a podium for one of these two drivers yet, as they are making some inroads to the third place driver, Bernard Person, who has dropped off the top two.
6 laps to go. These drivers, they're going to have to do whatever they possibly can. Right now, Tim Bills pulling up off away from Maines, make it a half a second almost lead between those two drivers. Chuck Sweeney, though, doing everything he possibly can to get to the back bumper of the 59, but DeRugis is doing what he has to, Jared. He has to figure out a way to stay in front of the 75 machine. All while doing that, he's still catching up on your third place driver.
Looking back a little bit further, Glenn Jamison gets around Russell Chernisky, moved Jamison to 7th, Chernisky to 8th, Burt Wilson 9th, Rachel Hunt in 10th, Troy Torgerson having a good run in 11th, holding on to that spot. 4 laps to go at the line, and back behind them, Dale Nearad battling with Robert Warrens. That's for position 13. Up front, it is stagnated. Bills has extended the gap to Jason Maines, who's in second person, and DeRugis, I think DeRugis might be focusing a little bit in the mirror and less on Bernard Person. Sweeting with a great run through 3 and 4, but now they are both still gaining up on Bernard Person, so it might not be done yet.
Not at all, as these two drivers of 75 to 59 doing everything they possibly can. Chuck Sweeney able to roll the middle still very well, but not able to get the momentum. Now he fakes to the inside of DeRugis, decides to stink better of it, goes back to the outside groove. These drivers, they're putting it all out there. Chuck Sweeney, he's sideways coming out of pretty much every corner trying to get up alongside DeRugis.
DeRugis doing a whale of a job. 2 laps to go. Gap to the lead, 7/10 of a second. Right now, we'll give Tim Bills that due when he comes across the line, but Bernard Person looks like he might be safe for third as these guys continue to battle behind him. No other battles really on the track right now that are as close as this one. Dale Nearad trying to battle with Troy Torgerson, slides him deep down the track, and he is trying to battle with Elliott Swopes. We still got some battling back here for 10th position. The white flag is out. Tim Bills, your race leader. What a job. Tim Bills has dominated the race tonight. It has been Tim Bills from the beginning. Started in 4th position, and he's going to come around through 3 and 4. Off of turn 4, Tim Bills will grab his first win of the year. First Wind Tunnel Racing career win. At the line, Maines holds up Bernard Person. DeRugis for 4th, and Chuck Sweeting will grab a top 5 finish here tonight. Further back, Jamison, Vrooman, 6th and 7th. Chernisky, Wilson, Hunt. Elliott Swope grabs 11th. Followed by Dale Nearad, Troy Torgerson, and Robert Warrens will come home 14th. Patterson 15th, with Bruce 16th. Phillips, Spears, Schmallenberg, your lead lap drivers in 19th place.
Wow, what an incredible race from Tim Bills in that 37 machine, as he pretty much dominated once he got the lead. There's no real other way to say it. The last couple laps, though, Person, where did that run come from, as he was able to drive up beside of Jason Maines there for the last lap? It looked like he was falling back at one point just with 5 laps to go, but in the end, did not matter. Chuck Sweeney still got up to 5th position. Great run by DeRugis and to finish 4th here in his debut. An interesting race for a lot of different drivers here. Dean Doucet, we mentioned it, had his issues. Ended up finishing well behind where he would have liked to, and will hurt him in the playoff race. I think he finished 22nd on the night, Jared. Incredible racing all throughout this track. You can't ask for a better race at Iowa in these Xfinity cars than what we saw tonight.
Commercial break. When we come back, we'll hear from our top 3 finishers here tonight at Iowa. The race back here live at Iowa Speedway, where Tim Bills dominated the race here tonight, Chris, leading 150 laps out of the 175.
What an incredible showing out of that driver with the number 37 machine. You couldn't ask for a better race for Tim Bills. He started close up front and up in, I believe, started fourth, ended up first, but incredible showing. He dominated this race.
We're going to hear from our top three finishers, starting with Bernard Persson, who is your still point leader. Bernard Persson grabbing third place here tonight. Congratulations. What a race you had with Jason Maines throughout most of that race. And after tonight, you're still going to be the point leader.
Yeah, man, that was some good racing by Jason and Tim and even Dean. I had so much fun out here tonight.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, you qualified third. You finished third. You got up to the lead. I think you led officially 2 laps here tonight. But talk about the race. I mean, we had those couple cautions at the beginning and then a 110-lap green flag run until about 20 to go at the end of that race. That 8 car looked really strong, but you didn't have a great pit stop. Had to come back through the field. What happened on pit road?
When I was behind Tim in that long run that you were discussing, I had something in the background came on, and it blinked me out, and I winded up ending up behind Dean, and I lost all that time. And when I went down pit road, I had to get rid of that.
Gotcha. We saw the technical issue happen to you on the track where you lost the positions, but you did a great job charging back through the field. But Iowa, very tough place to pass. You catch up to Jason Maines, and you guys battled, I don't know, for many, many laps, and you finally got the pass done. But then he was able to beat you off pit road on the caution pit stop. But, man, what a race between you guys.
I know. I was just telling him that was probably one of the best racing I had yet here. I mean, it was great racing by him. I love that kind of racing.
It was amazing to watch. Great battles throughout the field. But more importantly, Bernie, I mean, you're coming into this next week. I mean, as the point leader, still extending your point gap to 32 points.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm having a blast here. I enjoy everybody here. I mean, it's such a great competitive racing going on. I love that. And, I'm just going to take each race as they come to me. And Iowa was, one of my biggest track that I don't like. So I'm pretty happy where I finish. And, I'd just like to thank everybody who helped me through Iowa. I was watching a lot of guys get into turn 1, and it seemed to work for me. And I'll just like to thank everybody for that.
Well, Bernie, you did a great job. We're going to head to Texas next week and then Michigan to end out 2021. How are you feeling about the chances behind that 8 car to keep this momentum going?
I like Texas. Texas seems to like me as well. We said Michigan was next after that?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I like Michigan as well. So, I'm feeling pretty confident.
Well, Bernie, you've had a great season. Always a pleasure to talk to you, man. And congratulations on a great third-place run here. I'm going to turn the floor over to you, let you have the last word here tonight.
Well, as always, I'd like to thank Chris and yourself for always putting on a great broadcast. I always love going back and watching it and listening to you guys. I'd like to thank everybody here in the league for, such a bunch of competitive here. And I also like to thank, all my teammates for always putting in the hard work.
Well, there you have it, Chris. Bernard Persson, the point leader, coming out here with the solid third-place finish. And I believe you've caught up with our runner-up here tonight, Jason Maines.
That
Yes,
I
sir.
have the driver of the number 1, started number 1. Jason, take us through your night and what it was going to take for you to be able to get up there and contend with Tim Bills for the win.
Leave the car alone. I think that would have been the smartest thing. I changed the right side shocks right before we gridded, and I could run 5s in the race setup, and our best lap in the race was a 6. And as soon as I did that, I had no turn on entry. So the car was just plowing tight. So I let everybody go early. I had no rotation. I swung for the fence on pit stops and got it, let's just say, better, but it was still just garbage going into the corner. And that's 100% my fault. Leave well enough alone sometimes.
Absolutely, but it's still a beneficial night. Finishing second here, doing a great job maintaining your position in the points race here, heading into next week's race at Texas Motor Speedway. What is it that you'll do to prepare differently for that race than you would for the race here tonight?
Just really, I put the laps in this week. That was the big difference. So that helped in qualifying. I started working on Q trim when we got in here tonight. But when I get something that's solid, I got to learn my lesson and don't touch a car that's good and touch it before you go into the race with no laps on it. I think that's the biggest thing I learned from that.
Absolutely. I want to take a moment to give you an opportunity to thank all the friends, family that help you get to and from the virtual track each week.
I want to thank our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Without him, we wouldn't be here doing any of this stuff. I got to thank Elliott Sadler Esports, Lennox Industries, Bradley Mechanical. They've been with us forever. OfferPad was with my son in Smithfield, and looking forward to a great Coke season with them this year and working on some opportunities there. And I appreciate you guys putting on an incredible broadcast, and Dean does a great league. Great shout out to Tim, well deserved. Bernard, awesome racing. I mean, there's a lot of good people in here, and just a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Next week, we'll be watching for this number one. Finished P2 here tonight, looking to advance that, maybe get his first win on the season next week at Texas.
Exactly right. But I'm down here in victory lane with a driver that was able to hold off the number one machine, the driver of the 37, Mr. Tim Bills. Congratulations on your first win of the year, sir.
And I appreciate it. It was hard fought. A lot of work went into this. Man, it feels good to get a win in here.
Well, Tim, I mean, I've interviewed you many times, and a lot of those times have been on short tracks. You're one of the better short track racers I've had the pleasure to race against and broadcast. You made it look easy tonight. You're saying it was hard, but I mean, you led from lap 20 all the way to the end of the race, except through the pit stops. I mean, talk us through that race. I mean, you put on a clinic out here tonight.
It might have looked easy, but it sure wasn't for me. I'm wore out after this one. I was sweating. I was ready for I didn't want to caution, but I was ready for something to drink. I needed my water bottle. But man, I did a lot of testing and a lot of long runs, so I had that. Figured I could have a pretty good car on the long run. I was more worried about the short run because, the first 5-10 laps, it seemed like in the practices I just wasn't as good, but I thought, man, this thing's going to go long and we're going to need it. And then at the end, when we had a short run, I thought, oh man. So I made some changes, adjustments to it there at the end just to try to free it up a little bit for that short run, and it worked out.
Well, you're able to do it, but I mean, as you said, there was some competition. You had Bernard Person at the beginning. You had Jason Maines there battling with you at the beginning of the race as well. And then at the end of the race, you had to hold both of them off again. Take us through that late race restart there. I mean, Jason was on your back bumper, but as the laps wound down toward the end, you were able to make a little bit of ground on him.
Yeah, that was kind of when the getting a couple laps on the car, getting the tires heated up, and then the car started coming in a little bit more, but man, early on in that race, Bernie, he was right there on me, and there was no going easy because he was right there. I thought, man, any time he could get into the corners just so much better, but I think I had to drive off the corner. I think that's where it was really good at.
Well, you had a great run, Tim, and now we shift from the short tracks, heading back to the 1.5 miles, Texas Motor Speedway. How are you feeling about that track down in Texas?
Well, I like that track too. That's pretty fun to run, and we'll just have to put some work in and see what we can get a good setup and get a good car underneath of me and go out there and do the best we can. Keep up some of these good runs. We've done pretty good. I had to miss last week. Unfortunately, we went out of town, but other than that, I've had pretty good runs this year, and kind of just trying to stay consistent and do the best that I can that way. And where I end up. Well,
Tim, great run, and also a great run with your teammate there, Russell Chernisky. You guys had great runs here tonight, but I'm going to turn the floor over to you, bud. Let you have the last word, and congratulations once again on grabbing your first win of the year.
I appreciate it. I got to thank my sponsor, H&H Sign Supply, justforcrafters.com. And I'd like to thank you guys here for broadcasting this, and Dean for the work getting this league going. This is really good competition in here. You know, I really enjoyed running with these guys, and look forward to the rest of the season.
All right, Chris, that's our winner. Tim Bills grabbing his first win of the year at Iowa. Now we shift our focus back to the 1.5 miles at Texas.
That we do, Jared. And interesting, in this series so far, we've made it through now 5 races here. Your points leader, Bernard Person, his average start 6, average finish 2nd. Second, Jared. That shows the consistency but Bernard Person has had in this series. Jason Maines, our pole sitter tonight, finishes the race 2nd, and his average finish is 5th. So to be up here in this points race, you've got to be consistent. I mean, you can't get much more consistent than your average finish being 2nd.
No, these guys are amazing, and they keep adding amazing drivers. I mean, we saw John DeRudris tonight grab a 4th place finish in his debut. What about guys that we saw up front that we haven't seen a lot of, like Glenn Jameson, Steven Vrooman? These guys came to the front tonight. This is a stacked field, and we're going to head to Texas Motor Speedway next week, Chris. And I'm going to let you have the last word on tonight's race, but what a job by Tim Bills to dominate here.
Absolutely. Just there's nothing you can say about what Tim Bills did here other than it was special. He caught up front and just took this race and didn't let anyone else have control of it, even with the late race cautions there. Impressive driving out of Bills. But next week, total different game going to Texas. Be interesting to see how these drivers rebound from the nights tonight here. You know, we talk about how incredibly difficult it is to get up here and battle for position each and every week. Well, they've got to start making the round up. I mean, we're almost to the halfway point in this series, and if you don't start making your ground up on those points leaders now, you're never going to make it by the end of the season.
You're exactly right, Chris, but that's going to do it for tonight at Iowa for Wind Tunnel Racing. For Chris Spear, I'm Jared Carr. We will see you guys out of the track next Thursday night.